You're watching 90's Rockin' 9 Minutes. I'm Sam Bass. This is Kyle, my film and music expert.
Hello.
And today, we're going to go over, see, he's friendly, right? We're going to go over the movie soundtracks. We're going to go over the movie soundtracks that made the 90's. Okay? And that's the thing, I think a lot of it's kind of forgotten with today's, people look back at the 90's, or they remember the 90's, or they want to get into it for the first time. It's never, everybody's got a flannel jacket on or a ripped up jean, but a lot of people don't mention the movie soundtracks
Right.
that made the decade.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start this off with brilliant movie maker and awesome soundtrack curator, Quentin Tarantino's
Yes.
Reservoir Dogs.
Q. I like Q a lot. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Yeah. Little green bag. Just the whole K Billy Super Sounds theme that's going on throughout the whole film is really awesome.
Yeah, and that's on the record too. Like it sounds like you're.
This is really cool. Yeah, you'll see this kind of poster in the movie Swingers from the 90's, but it's just Michael Madsen and it's got the Reservoir Dogs. And there's other copies of this CD that aren't as cool looking as far as the cover is concerned. This is a really cool cover.
It's true.
Gosh,
I usually have the coolest
freaking
versions.
Feeling. Yeah, man. Fool for Love is great, though it's not from the 70's. He's a fool for love.
I actually usually skip that one.
Stephen Wright does the kind of what do you call it? The DJ radio voice guy. That guy's hilarious. He's in Natural Born Killers.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Yeah.
So
I know that you're probably gonna pull that out now.
I'm gonna pull something out. So yeah, there's Natural Born Killers, the soundtrack to Natural Born Killers. Well, this one has an exclusive track from 9 Nails that Burn. You remember Burn?
Yeah, I'm gonna burn this whole world down.
Yeah, really positive stuff.
It's a very positive film for everyone to watch.
And he actually, Trent Reznor did, I don't know what you would call that. He was the director of the soundtrack. Because he had you got movie clips in here, audio, and you've got the different music as it pops up. And from what I remember, it pops up pretty much in order. It's like an audio version of the movie. I think Oliver Stone is a brilliant director here.
He's one of the greats.
And
Platoon.
This is actually my favorite.
Street.
This is one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie.
It's
and
Wine Guile. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's funny. It's violent. It's got great music, great acting. I mean, it's just everything you want from a movie. And there's Sweet Jane. So you have a cool cover of like a Velvet Underground song there.
There's also
Route 66 Back in Baby's Arms. You got like one of the best and very underrated Patsy Cline songs on there. Back in Baby's Arms. I'm back in Baby's Arms. It's a great song.
Moving on, I find this to be. I love your take on all of that. I find this to be the greatest movie soundtrack of all time. It's Spawn's.
I know nothing about Spawn.
This right here. The reason I think this is great is because it has all these great artists: Filter, Marilyn Manson, Korn, Metallica, Stabbing Westward. Well, maybe not Stabbing Westward.
And good old Satan by Orbital and Kurt.
Yeah, but see, all of these people, like you said, the Prodigy and Tom Morello, Metallica, Kirk Hammett and Orbital.
And Moby, that's cool. I like Moby a lot.
The key to this album is these were all collaborations.
Right. And these were huge artists in the 90's. I mean, Filter was huge in the 90's. Silverchair.
Yeah.
Like
they're all big names.
13-year-olds, but they're not bad.
Yeah. So they're all big names.
And Goldie, wow.
And then you've got, of course,
everyone was doing the rap rock thing there.
That's actually the rare cover. The normal cover just has that picture on the CD on the front too.
Oh, that's cool. Wow, it's so cool. I mean, I'll admit, I read a couple Spawns. The reason I didn't read so many Spawns is because they were so popular, you couldn't get your hands on Spawn. It was just like, you go to the store and you have this new issue? Nope.
So this next soundtrack, I mean, I admit I didn't get into it until recently, but it is amazing, and it takes you right to the early 90s, right to whenever all this stuff was gaining popularity. Singles. Have you heard this soundtrack?
I've heard it, and I saw the film in the theaters, but I'll admit I never bought the album or didn't own it. But yeah, I mean, it was a part of our lives in the 90s. I mean, you just couldn't escape it. It was very popular.
And this one, the band Alice in Chains, they went in the studio just to make a track for this, which wound up being the first.
Yes, that was huge. That was like a huge hit. It was probably had a lot to do with their success at the time and what started their whole.
So you remember that a little more, like Wood came out, and then they kind of broke them. Is it that and Man in the Box really kind of broke them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, I remember listening to Facelift at the last day of freshman year party at my friend Heath's house in 1992. And then it was like just this whole experience. We were like, I'd never drank. Everyone around me was drinking peach schnapps. I'd never smoked pot. Everyone was smoking pot out of like a Coke can. I was feigning smoking pot. I was pretending like I was. I didn't want to do it. I was pretending to be high, but I really wasn't doing it because that's what was like to be a high schooler and a freshman in high school in 1992. I mean, it was just like. It was crazy, but it was a really great night. Just fun times with my friends in Capel, Texas. Although my friend Nathan was sick the whole night growing up, but it was like we were listening to freaking Facelift by Alice in Chains the whole time, pretty much. And then we listened to The Doors absolutely live in the dark late at night. I remember that was really cool. That was the first time I'd ever heard The Doors.
Did you score?
Hell no, there were no girls there whatsoever.
I'll admit, this CD got me into Pearl Jam. I didn't like Pearl Jam, like all through the 90s. It was sort of, I was a Nirvana guy, and you sort of, it was like, is it just me, or if you like Nirvana, you were like no to Eddie Vedder, or if you liked Eddie Vedder, you were like, you know what I mean?
Well, as time has gone on, it's like, I think I've...
Yeah, as time's gone on.
Nirvana guy.
Yeah.
But at the time, honestly, the Alive single.
Oh, I'm still alive.
That video came out this summer of 91. Summer of 91. Nirvana Nevermind, many of you may not know, came out in October of 91. So technically, Pearl Jam, Cooler first. It was one of the first tastes of alternative music next to like. Before that, all there was like Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians doing What I Am.
What I Am.
And Faith No More doing Epic. And those were the two, pretty much. Maybe good. Pain Lies by the Riverside by
Live?
By Live, yeah. That was the single of that came out before Nirvana Nevermind. But once Nevermind hit, it was like Nirvana. They were like the band.
This State of Love and Trust.
Yeah. That's a great track.
Yeah, State of Love and Trust.
Pearl Jam's cool.
I was like, if Pearl Jam just sounded like this, I like them. And then I went and bought like Verses. I was like, they do sound like this. So this is pretty cool. And God, what else is on here? Then there's tracks that are only on here. There's a Chris Cornell acoustic. There's Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah. There's Soundgarden. There's Jimi Hendrix. This album got me into Pearl Jam and Jimi Hendrix. Number one track on here was Alice in Chains. Lane Staley, one of my favorite, if not my favorite vocalist.
Yeah.
That brings us to the next movie soundtrack, The Faculty. But the key to this whole CD is this has Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd covered by a band called Class of 99, which is the guitar player of Rage Against the Machine and the vocalist of Alice in Chains.
Morello?
Yeah, and Tom Morello and Lane Staley.
Yes.
In from what all I can find, his final studio performance.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Tune in next week for the rocking conclusion of this episode of 90's Rockin' 9 Minutes.
Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe.